G'day people, and welcome back to another episode of Fantasy Chats with Heff and Checkers. With me here, I've got the great man himself ahead of the big Div 12 Resi State of Origin match this weekend. But more importantly, we need to get through the AFL Fantasy stuff first. How'd your team go on the weekend?
Not great at all. There was only one game in Victoria on the weekend, so maybe I blame that. Maybe I wasn't as in tune with the footy across the weekend as I have been in previous weeks. I didn't get to watch a lot of footy on TV either, so I went to the one game. I left for the footy early for the first time, I think, in probably the last 10 years. Like, I left at three-quarter time because I had three just undesirable people sitting behind us, just screaming in our ears, giving us headaches the whole game. So left early as well. So I literally went to three-quarters of footy on the weekend, which is so strange for me, and as a result, my team had a stinker. So I don't know what a pass score was on the weekend, but I scored 16-63, which was pretty much saved on Sunday night by Bailey Smith as captain. So that's the first tick I've had in a few weeks for a captain, which is good. What he scored in the end, 147. But yeah, had a few stinkers as well, like Riley Bice, Cozzy Pickett as a pod just didn't really perform. Trying to think, Isaac Heaney as a pod was a bit of a letdown as well. Pumped him up real big last week and dished up a 81. So yeah, there was a few average scores on the weekend. A lot of 40s in my team. I played a lot of rookies on field. It was a tough bye to navigate the first one though, so we got quite an easy bye this week. What about
the first one was a bit trickier. Just having the four teams, then you go back to the two, that makes it a bit easy. I think my score was actually like near enough to par, which was 1767, because I only came in about 300 spots, so I was up about 300 from that into 5,459 this week. So I was pretty happy with the whole strategy. Like, quite often in Briar rounds, it's like the onus has been get as many red dots out of your side as possible, get as many green dots in. I've kind of taken the different approach. Like, I'm not really worried if I don't have 22, 21 playing. I'm just trying to get the players that are playing to be real solid players, given that I don't have that many rookies on field. So, like, you want as many green dots as you want as possible, but if, four of those are rookies that are putting up 40s, like, who cares? You might as well just have your best 18. And, on the weekend I had two guys who put up sixes. Like, legit, like, I think it was Bice and Cleary. I think it was like 8 and 9 points or something like that. So, like, again, it didn't really matter that I had those guys in the team as long as my best 18 was sound. And then coming into this week as well, like, because I don't have that many rookies, I've only got two rookies and one of them's Levi Ashcroft. And actually now I've gotten rid of Bice this week, I'll only have one rookie on field. Like, I'm not really too concerned about having 22 players. That's been my philosophy, and I think it paid off pretty well. This weekend, I'm going to sideways another couple underperforming primos in Sarong and Shea Bolton this week to get the guys at the top of the line in. Well, actually, that's a lie. My plan is to get some value in, but we'll talk about that a bit later on. So, what did you do with your trades last week, and how did they come off?
Well, I did the triple downgrade last week, and I sort of backed in that as long as I've got 23, how many did we play on field? 18 on field, is it? Sorry.
Yeah.
On my brain's, sorry, a lot of admin this morning, and my brain's not very good with numbers. So great to do a fantasy pod. That's all right. I only had the one black dot, and that was in the ruck, which is, I think most people were copying. It's the hardest spot to sort of like do a trade to save grace for, remove a dot. But I did the triple downgrade and was just hoping that amongst, say, if I played 6 to 7 rookies on field, that 3 or 4 of them would score okay, and I could scrape, the Riley Bice score off. But unfortunately, I don't think any of the rookies really scored okay, and I had 9 scores under 50 on my field. So 4 of them got scraped, or 3 of them got scraped, and as a result, I had to cop 5 scores under 50, which wasn't great. Doubled down on the rookies will half of them will be good and half of them will be bad, but unfortunately, it was just a bad week all round.
Yeah, it was pretty unfortunate for a bit of scores. I think a different thing that people probably aren't factoring in is, like, we've got an extra week of buys, which means an extra week of 3 trades as well. So it is a little bit easier to actually, like, we got an extra week of kind of fixing up issues and stuff like that. Especially when you got this week, like, we've got only 2 teams not playing, and we've still got best 18, which makes it heaps easier, and you've still got 3 trades across that round to start fixing up things from the future. So that's why my strategy's changed a little bit, but and that's why I'm kind of just not really too fussed about red dots and rookies and stuff like that, and just trying to get my best players upgrade, my team upgraded throughout this period. But anyway, we'll get stuck into the crux of the show. You got any unique or players that you're looking at for this week?
Well, I did mention a couple last week that had the bye first up, so they could be ones we could revisit and maybe double down on. So obviously we would love to trade in players this week that have already been through their bye. That's fantastic for your team. You don't have to worry about them copping another week off. You don't have to worry about any more black dots. Start filling your side up with players who've passed the bye. Rory Atkins, I mentioned last week, there's a few injuries that Port Adelaide down back. He's quite cheap. If you want to make some coin, if you want to do a little bit of a sideways trade and just go down slightly on someone, you can make a little bit of coin but still keep your scoring okay. So he scored 85 just before the bye. He did message me this morning and say, I think I tweeted very early in the year saying there'll be a Rory Atkins run at some point in the year. And he messaged me this morning and said the run starts now. So
that's interesting because it's interesting that he's that confident, because I was just looking at the team sheets and looking at injuries, and it looks like Sin and Farrell are going to come back into the side this week. So I was a bit concerned. Like I had a mid-season draft actually in my keeper league, and I was tossing up between Rory Atkins and Riley West, because I kind of needed a forward, and Riley West was probably the best forward available, and he plays a lot of Thursday night games, so I've thought of him as a bit of a loophole option coming up. And I actually went with West because I was a bit concerned that Atkins might be one and done, but you reckon he might stick around for a while?
Yeah, he's one that just works so hard on the track, and I feel like he was always well loved at Crows, always well loved at Gold Coast. Cops a lot of heat in the media, but you don't see like what goes on behind closed doors, and I think he's probably well loved at Port Adelaide and would be one of Kenny's favourites. So I feel like Kenny's made that statement saying when finals is out of the reach, he'll step down and stuff. He's going to back in the boys that he trusts and give him a crack. So I feel like Roy Atkins' experience, good chew, good efficiency, someone he could back in for a couple of weeks. We know his scoring is always great when he's in the team off halfback. That's going to be a good role. So if he gets another week and goes okay, he's one that's like a grinder. I think Rory Atkins knows he's got to actually play a good game just to keep his spot on the side each week. He's going to have to fight and battle to stay in the side. So if he gets a game this week, goes okay, we could see 3, 4, 5 weeks out of him.
Yeah, well, we got to give Geordie Sweet his weekly mention. But Geordie Sweet said to me when he came on the podcast that pretty much the exact sentiment that you said about Rory Atkins. The boys love him, works super hard, can see him playing a fair bit this season. So hopefully that run does start now. I think the other saving grace as well, Miles Bergman looks like a permanent midfielder now. So that might be the extra spot for him opened up there. Any other pods on your list?
Well, Doherty, we brought up last week. He has scored the 2 scores massively in the VFL. 112 when he came into the AFL side last week. 30 disposals, led the intercepts, led the metres gained, led the inside 50s. He's had his bye, so he's got Essendon, West Coast and North coming up in the next few games. So if you want to roll the dice on an ultra pod, you know what his scoring history has been like in the past. Obviously, you got the massive risk of, is he going to get a sub vest? Is he going to get dropped? Is obviously going to change his mind on Doherty because it's happened a few times already this year. But if you want to roll that massive risk, there's some good scoring potential there for quite an underpriced player. We brought them up last week, so if we're mentioning the same names, there's a name I want to do bring up though, is Jack Ginnivan. On the weekend, had 31 disposals and 3 goals in a game that they lost by 50 plus points. So pretty crazy stat line to have 30 and 3 as a small forward. Over his last 6 games, he's had 4 scores over 90, 3 tons in there. He's only in 3.9% of teams. Are we seeing Jack Ginnivan play a different role? Are we seeing him play the Dylan Moore role maybe that Dylan Moore was playing last year? He gets a bit higher up the ground, getting his hands on a lot of footy lately.
Yeah, I think from the start of the year, I know he came into the season nursing an ankle injury that wasn't really well publicised, and that seemed to hinder him. Obviously got dropped back to the 2s, put up a ripper performance, and he's pretty much been like one of their best players since then. He's definitely playing the role that he played last year, which was further up the ground. I'll preface last week's performance with, he was actually in my streamers of the week last year, my article on keeperleaguepod.com.au, because He has only played 2 games before Collingwood before this weekend, against Collingwood, sorry. Obviously, that being his old side. But he was averaging 94 against them from the 2 games he'd played previously. And now he's averaging over 100 against Collingwood since moving to Hawthorn as well. So maybe there's just an extra bit of, a bit of spite in him or something for leaving the club or getting kicked out of the club or whatever. But performances before that do show that he is kind of on the uptick as well. So a good, unique one to consider there. Is there anyone else on your list, or do you want me to go through mine?
I'll just give you my last one, then you can roll yours. The last one that I've actually got on my side at the moment is Kyle Lohmann. Coming back from, he's had a couple injuries and he's just really cheap. I think his scoring potential is not going to be crazy massive. We're not going to see him average 90, or he's not going to be a top 6 forward. That's not the idea, but the idea is that he's 392k, and when a lot of our rookies are scoring 40s and whatnot. Sorry, I've just had a text come through from Rory Atkins. Don't trade me in this week. Actually, just live on the pod.
Oh, that's going to make a good clip.
Just actually thrown me off. Oh, man. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's classic. I was just, yeah, okay. Okay, we'll rewind on the Rory Atkins chat. That's fine. But Kyle Lohmann at 392k, he scored 79 on the weekend. He bobs up every now and then, kicks a bag of 3 or 4. I think there's a lack of rookies going to be blooded this late in the year, and if you can lock Kyle Lohmann in at 390k, probably plays the rest of the year. If he has a few rounds where he kicks 3 or 4, just very handy bench option to have. So if you've got someone like Isaac Kako or Kyle Lohmann and they're the same price, what would you rather take? That's my thoughts. So just maybe a handy trade option or a point of difference player. He's at the cheapest you ever get him because of his injuries that he's had at the start of the season. So probably one that is just on my radar this week.
I think the difference between Kako and Lohmann is probably the break-even as well. You're going to be making money off Lohmann. You're not probably going to make... Kako is probably topped out in price, for where he's at. No full discretion right now. In my current trade plans, Kyle Lohmann is coming into my team this week. The other thing I like about him is round 16 bye. So you do have, 3 weeks of cash gen there in a season where it's very hard to get cash gen out of rookies. That you can flick off come bar round to another rookie that comes in there. You're probably going to make yourself a cheeky 100k in those weeks if he kicks a bag or something like that in that time. And that's my play this season, is to not go down to rookies. It's to kind of go down to mid prices, from failing primos down to mid prices to make money, because I'm not getting it out of the rookies at the moment. So yeah, that aligns with my plans nicely, and I like that. I like that call there, Checkers. All right, let's get into my pods. I'm looking at the top end, and same as you, looking at players that have had their bye. This year, it's kind of been going well for me to try to get a player in that no one else is really thinking of. And this next one is a player that it's astounding that no one is actually thinking of this guy. And the player I'm looking at is Ed Richards. Put up some massive scores over the last few weeks. One of the more consistent performers in Western Bulldogs' side. And if you look at the numbers in terms of ownership, he's basically the same price as Bont at the moment. He's averaging 101, but his last 3 averages 116. But if you look at ownership numbers, he's 3% owned. On the flip side, if you look at Bontempelli, he's actually more expensive than Richards. Only has 102 for average from his last 3 games. And he's owned by almost 15% of the competition. So Ed Richards, I think, is that good little unique pick where everyone's going, all right, I need to get a player off the buy. Who's the best player? Marcus Bontempelli. Let's get him in. You could probably save a bit of coin and arguably probably score better by going to Ed Richards and move yourself up the ranks a lot more, I think, there. So he's someone I'm strongly considering bringing him into my side this week. Although there might be a value option that I might be going with later, which I might talk about in my hot takes. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Ed Richards?
Yeah, we've spoken about him for a few weeks now, and their ownership just hasn't gone up. It's crazy. His scoring is still just very good, very solid. I think it's 6 games in a row now where he's tonned up. And it's since Bontempelli came back in the side. You had Treloar back in there for a little bit, and the scoring was still good. So I think there was I've seen even some Brownlee predictors where they've got Ed Richards in the top 3 at current moment. So, which is pretty crazy to think of how under the radar he's going in AFL media, let alone AFL fantasy media. So, him and Kennedy just keep on killing it. They impact the scoreboard, big tacklers, but they're also finding lots of the footy. So, I think you're pretty safe if they have a game where maybe they don't kick a couple goals, they're still laying the tackles, they're still going to get to the ton. So Dogs have a very fantasy-friendly midfield at the moment, is something we could probably say as a whole. Tim English, Bontempelli, Kennedy, when Trelaw's in, you've got Libba, you got Fraser when he goes to the middle, it's friendly. You've got Sanders when he goes to the middle, the scoring's friendly. And then you got Ed Richards, who's just doing it week after week as well. So can't go wrong with any Doggies players, I don't think.
Another two that I will touch on that aren't in a lot of sides, but they're a bit more popular. Matt Kennedy is the first one. He's over $1 million these days, but I do think he'll be one of the top 6 forwards. He's already had his bye, so he's a pretty decent option to bring in, I think, if you're looking for a forward. There might be a few people out there that, ran with a Cleary last week or something like that just want to kind of fix up that last forward spot. That could be an option. He's currently in my trade plans. I've got Shea Bolton in my forward line that I just picked up for a few weeks to try to get the cash because he was running through the midfield. Averaged 80 over those few weeks, so got it for me in the end, but not too bad. The other one's Zach Butters. Copying a lot of tags at the moment, but after this GWS game, I feel like their fixture opens up a little bit, and he could be back off the chain there. I reckon the only reason he's not in more sides is because he had that injury for the first 6 weeks. So he's someone that should come back. What are your thoughts on those guys?
Yeah, well, we just saw the news about Ollie Wines' surgery maybe not going as well as he hoped. So does that mean last week we were pretty hot on Ollie Wines as a point of difference player, but does he have to have some time off in the back half of the year? Or do we see... And Zach's also in that trade talk at the moment. We often see players in the trade talk play some unreal footy, boost their value, boost their stocks, or they sign a contract and get the media heat off their back, and they also play a lot freer. So don't mind that. Spoken about Zach a few weeks ago, I reckon, as well, when he first came back from injury. He hasn't really missed a beat, hasn't shown any signs of a lack of pre-season, so that's a good option. Kennedy, I will note, he kicked 3 goals against Geelong, and they were all from outside 50, so for those that get trapped by seeing him kick goals each week and maybe think he's just playing in the forward 50, he's still playing quite high up the ground. Sometimes you get like a Riley West kick 3 goals, score a ton, but he's playing purely forward pocket and getting on the end of a lot of, footy inside the forward 50. But I still think Kennedy's playing some great midfield time. So I've seen some tweets and stuff like that about Matt Kennedy. Don't get trapped, he's a forward or whatever, or, you don't want to trade in a forward. But no, he kicked 3 massive 60-metre goals. So running out of the midfield. Reminded me of Patrick Dangerfield in his prime. So I like both of them. I would trade in Kennedy, but I probably miss the boat. I feel like you're getting him at potentially his most expensive. I don't know if he'll go down too much, but I think you really wanted to get him at $800K instead of $1 million.
Whilst I do agree that you are paying top dollar, I think if you want to be any chance, you're still going to have the top 6 guys in your side by the end of the season, and he's one of them. So he's like one of those players that I guess Selby always says that you've got to have him at some stage throughout the season if you want to compete. So I reckon he's one of them. The other one I'm not going to talk about too much, but Jai Caldwell I'm looking at closely after his bye. Just not going to bring him in before the bye. That's the only thing. All right, let's go into some hot takes. What's your hot take of the week, Checkers?
Mine is I know we like to talk about point of difference players, but maybe sometimes with the 3 trades we get a bit... it's like when you get a lot of money in your bank account and you go and buy stuff you don't need, or you get a bit excited and you go to the shops and maybe buy a new Xbox or a PlayStation or something, is to back in the essentials. Like back in the players that you know are the essentials. So I know we've just spoken about trading in Matt Kennedy's and Ed Richards, but I would back in a Bontempelli purely on form, and I'd back in a Zach Butters on form. That's fine, but just when you get the 3 trades, I've seen some people get a bit happy and a bit crazy and sort of maybe go one downgrade and then do a luxury trade and do another luxury trade and go a bit sideways and get a bit crazy with things. So across 4 weeks, 3 trades a week, there's 12 trades you've got over the next few weeks. And I've seen a few people already in their trade plans, and people who are going okay. People who are quite high up in their rankings going okay, just getting a bit like a kid in a candy store and getting a bit crazy with it. So yeah, my hot take is to just back in the known trust and the proven history over the next few weeks. Maybe 2 of those trades have a bit of fun, but yeah, 12 trades, you don't want to be doing 12 risks because they're not all going to pay off.
When you mentioned you've seen a few people, does anyone come to mind straight away when you say that?
Louis. 100%
Yeah, that's what
Louis.
I thought. That's what I thought you were saying.
Bloke sitting ranked 27 overall, looking at his first hat, messaging me some of the most ludicrous names you could ever think of to trade in. You have 12 trades. You really should just be trying to make your team as close to everyone else's as possible if you're ranked 27, so that that they can't overtake you.
Yeah, I did have half a dozen or so beers with Louis on the weekend, and he starts to really speak his mind after a few of those. Gets quite into a few of his trade plans, so I thought you might have been hearing the same things as I had been. All right, so my hot take of the week, I'm going to target a player that I think is going to go on a bit of a run here, and given that he's priced at around 900k, I'm probably thinking about bringing him in. Risky, but that's Sam Walsh, I think, at the moment. So just looking at his next 3 games, I reckon he goes on a bit of a run and finds some form. Carlton have Essendon, which is an easy team for both inside and outside midfielders. He kind of floats between both roles. West Coast, an easy team for inside mids, a harder one for outside mids. And then North Melbourne, who are an easy team for both as well. So priced at, I think, 900 and something K here. What is it? 908K. I think he's actually a bargain to bring into your side, and he's really under-owned at the moment as well. And it kind of goes to my theory of like trying to find value in cheaper players rather than going the traditional downgrade to a rookie. He's just going to get dropped in 2 weeks' time anyway. And like I'm actually making money going sideways from Caleb Sarong to Sam Walsh, whereas I see Sarong's price kind of coming down each week. And then someone like Walsh is probably more likely to go up over the next few weeks, given the opposition he's got coming up. So that's my hot take of the week. Sam Walsh should go on a bit of a run, and he's one of my trade-in targets for this week. What are your thoughts?
Hopefully he doesn't, because he's rumoured to get traded to St Kilda at the end of the year, so we can get him as cheap as possible. But yeah, that is one of those ones where back in the proven history, back in the scoring history, you could definitely pick up someone like a Jack Ginnivan who's flying on a 6-week period, but his scoring history says he plays small forward and he's going to have weeks where he scores 40. But then someone like Sam Walsh, who's had a bit of a maybe not a great start of the year, but his scoring history says he averages 100. He dishes up consistently across his career, dishes up good scores. Well, then I'd back in a Sam Walsh. So some people trying to find these crazy pull number names out of the hat. I think Sam Walsh is someone who's got quite good history, where if he does have an off week, that his next week's most likely not going to be an off week again. I don't mind it. Carlton do have a very easy fixture, so I think over the next 6 weeks you'll see the Blues fans out and about, and you'll see them very loud on social media and in the streets. So yeah, it's going to be a good month if you're a Blues fan, I think.
All right, we've ticked over the 20-minute mark now, so we might as well wrap it up before our viewers get bored. We should give the game on the weekend a bit of an extra plug, I guess. You'll obviously be playing in it, and I'll be in the commentary box. So if you're there, or if you're there, you won't hear me. But if you're watching on the stream, you'll likely hear my voice throughout the broadcast. If you're in SA, I guess come down and have a look. What's the deal with the what time does it start, all that sort of stuff, all the information?
Gates open at 5 o'clock. First bounce is at 6:30. These are local times in SA, so if you're in Vic or somewhere else, it'd be 7 o'clock first bounce on the stream. But 6:30 first bounce in SA. If you can't get there, it will be on YouTube. You'll be able to listen to Heff commentating the game. There'll be lots going on the stream. I think it should be really high quality this year with the lighting and the broadcast setup they have at Norwood. So should be good fun. You guys will be up in the commentary box. And yeah, if I get sent to the bench, I might come up and join you for a bit.
Sounds good. I look forward to that anyway. It is a free event as well, isn't it?
$5 for over 16. So
yeah. So cheap as chips.
It's not as much as you pay to go to the footy each week at the moment. So
yeah, so there's no excuses to not come along. It's going to be a good night.
And there'll be heaps of free samples inside. So
you
for $5, you get there'll be chocky. I think it's like 6,000 chocky milks to hand out, and plenty
Yeah.
going on, Red Bulls to hand out and stuff like that. So yeah, you
They're all
make it back
$5 a
straight
pop
away.
anyway. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Anyways, we might wrap it up for another week. Thanks for joining us. Good luck with your trades this week. Good luck with your fantasy teams. Hopefully, the team scores a bit better than Checkers did this week, and you can all rocket up the rankings. Anyways, see you later.